Yeah. Hello, everyone. Super excited to be here. I guess you covered most of it. Vietnamese American immigrant living in Spain. I've been abroad now for about 8 years. I have been creating content for 13 plus years across all the mediums. So if there are any people here who remember Zenga, MySpace, LiveJournal, Vine, I have probably created content on it for other people. And yeah, I run a business called the Quirky Pineapple Studio, which is a creative marketing and media agency. And we help our clients increase brand awareness with engaging content.
Very, very cool. Long live Vine. I'm telling you, y'all. Vine,
Yeah,
Vine
right?
crawled so that TikTok could run, truly. Um,
Really, I
yeah,
believe it.
I mean, like as I'm listening to you, I'm just thinking back of like all of the different like hours and hours and hours that I spent in those virtual spaces that like you say MySpace now and some people will know what you're talking about because of the joke of like, oh yeah, we had our top eight, but like I'm telling
Hey,
you,
top eight was uh
yes, top eights were serious, y'all. Like you could like
yes.
friendships were made and broken with your top eight. That was
Yes,
serious.
I was just about to say that because I remember I had a little bit of beef with a high school friend because she moved me down. I was like number two and she put me like number eight. And I was like, oh, here we go.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, that's trauma. I don't care if you call
Yeah.
it big T or little T trauma. That's some trauma right there. Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about how culture and identity influences marketing. Obviously, this is something that pertains to a lot of different areas of our lives. But if people aren't really like if they're unclear about the connection there, what do you think they should know?
Yeah, so I'm gonna break this answer up into two almost. So there could be people who are working in marketing, I suppose, and then others who maybe have their own business. So I guess it's a little bit different if we're thinking about if you work in marketing, in like a corporation, an organization, and then also if you run your own business and you do your own marketing. So the first thing is values, I think. And this could be values on a personal level or potentially company values. And this actually really leads into how we market and actually what we highlight and how we sell. I think a lot of people forget that when we're selling things like we want to just get people to convert or you want to hit KPIs and all of these revenue goals. But also at the same time, I think marketing has shifted so much from what it was to now people are looking at brands, businesses, corporations, organizations to actually do a little bit more with their business than just make a pretty penny and go on with their day. They're looking for a brand that actually stands for something and actually contributes to the conversation to create a better world. At least that's in my circle. If
I
that's not true,
totally
in
agree. No,
yeah,
I think this is true. I mean, I think we're seeing a huge influx of people who maybe were new to the social justice situations and a lot of the stuff that was happening that caused a huge uprising, if you want to call it that, in 2020. And I think you're right. We're seeing people that are kind of changing the conversation because they're not just looking at it in terms of you know what they do in their own personal lives, but they're looking at like voting with your dollar, kind of, right? So we are looking at this in terms of like, we're looking at sort of like a capitalist democracy-ish sort of situation.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, you're right. There's a huge run of people that are taking up more and more and more space within the working world that this truly matters to. Um, you
yeah,
know, in big and small ways. I think you will absolutely see people that do this. So,
exactly. Oh,
what
go
kind
ahead.
of influence do you think that then has?
Yeah, so I think then if we think about it on like actual marketing terms, I believe it's more looking at who we are marketing to, like our audiences, clients, communities, all of that stuff. Taking a more human approach to it than actually just thinking that, oh, this is a number or anything like that. I think something that me and my marketing friends always joke about is everybody talks about the ideal client avatar, which is great. I love an ideal client avatar. Who doesn't? You need one. But then most of the time, we basically only focus on like the census, what I call census numbers. And that is like age, sex, household income. I don't know how many ideal marketing avatar exercises the audience has done, but you probably also have to list out, where do they shop? What are their favorite brands? How many times do they buy coffee a week? Things like that, which is cool and important, but that's what I call census information. And I think marketing is taking a turn to be even more human-centered, where it's understanding somebody's values, what they actually place value on, so how they value your service, product, offer, or whatever else. And then also kind of thinking more about like, well, who are they actually? Like, what is their identity? How do we connect with them on, more of a deeper level than just, hey, buy my product. Now we want to tie in like storytelling aspects and connecting with them on the similar values that your business, brand, whatever organization has, and the values that they share. And I think this is super important because the internet and culture just moves at like an extremely rapid pace now, thanks to social media. I mean, TikTok, Vine was one thing, TikTok, whole other thing.
TikTok's
Like,
unhinged. If you told us 10 years ago that this is what Vine was going to turn into, nobody would have believed you.
no. And I mean, the things that go viral on social media now really dominate the conversations that people are having. And if we think about it, marketing, especially content marketing, is basically, guiding that conversation because we're pumping out literally so much content.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, when we're talking about like guiding the content, this is literally why we call them influencers, right? This is why, because we're putting this power in these people's hands to change the way others are doing whatever they're doing, whether it's by a, you don't want to do this, or a keeping up with the Joneses that, like, there's a lot of psychology that comes into play here.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So Quirky Pineapple Studio, y'all use a 3-step framework when you're talking about brand strategies and marketing. Could you walk us through those 3 steps and what it kind of looks like for clients?
Yeah. So our 3-step framework includes cultural competence, which is what I kind of talked about earlier, understanding values and people's identities, understanding like how to communicate with people across different cultures. And something that one of my clients, actually, I believe she was on a summit before, Shiva Rufe.
Yeah,
She taught me
she's
that
great.
yeah, she was awesome. So she taught me that culture doesn't just go nationality, it's really deeper into, the things that you believe in, the things that you like, the things that you don't like. So being able to communicate across cultures, I think, is really important, especially in marketing. Intersectional feminism, this is really approaching it from an intersectional lens. So being more inclusive, using inclusive language and all of that stuff. And then liberatory practices. So nobody likes hustle culture, I believe. We don't want to be hustling. If you have done your own marketing, I don't know if you all have ever felt like you're on the content hamster wheel. The content hamster wheel, not fun for anybody. So when we tie in more liberatory practices, this is thinking of like a more sustainable way to approach content and also marketing, and in a way that doesn't necessarily exploit us in terms of capitalism and productivity, but also doesn't exploit like our clients and our communities and all of that stuff. Do you want me to go into what does this actually like mean and look like?
Yeah, seriously. Well, no, because I'm loving this because as you're talking about these things, I'm just sitting here thinking like, okay, but why haven't I had these conversations before? So like, just keep saying words. I'm hanging on to
Okay.
my seat.
Okay, well then tell me if there's anything like I say and you're like, what does that mean? Just let me know.
Okay.
So basically what we do with our clients is we do not center dominant culture in our marketing. So I'm just gonna say dominant culture as like United States, Europe, UK, all of that stuff. We try and pull in more of like what the brand, organization, business, person, what their culture looks like. So that means really understanding like their story, their identity, their experiences. And then we go into deeper marketing avatars. So like I mentioned before, yes, we dig up and do research on like age, gender, household income, their favorite brands, all of that stuff. But then we go deeper into, okay, what are your ideal client avatars' values? How do they perceive things? What is the language that they use? What is like the currency and what is the power of the currency? Especially if you're selling things online. Internet has no borders. So we have to take all of that into consideration because if we don't, we're basically creating like a larger education, economic, all the things gap. So making sure that it's all taken into account. And then also making sure all marketing campaigns we design are inclusive and representative of the brand and business values. So just going back again to like brand message and really being clear on, okay, what does this brand actually stand for? Because I think if you don't have that from the beginning, your marketing, a lot of people I think that marketing will save you and make your brand look really cool. But I
Can't do
honestly
that unless
believe
there's a
that,
plan.
yeah. And I also think like if you don't have a lot of these things clear from the beginning, marketing only just amplifies things. So there will be cracks when you start marketing a lot. And then maybe, you have a viral post go here and there. People will start to notice if something is like, if you're doing what you're saying that you want to do, or if you're just kind of showing face. So
Yeah.
that's kind of
No,
like all of that stuff.
no, I think that's you make a couple of really, really great points in here because I mean, when we're thinking about marketing, obviously the way we market has changed over the years, regardless of the DEI space or the kind of weird stuff that we work with in the working world.
Yes.
But it does really kind of go to show that we have to look at it in this holistic way, right? You can't just expect to be able to sell somebody something because you know one piece of data about them.
Yeah.
So I like this kind of angle towards ask more questions to really fully more like understand not just your own company culture, but then like what you're trying to then bring to people. Because you can't, like you said, you can't market if there's nothing to market, and you can't raise the volume when there's nothing on the stage. So like you have to make sure that you've got something to be showing people.
Yeah.
Um,
I do. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go for it, please.
I was gonna say I do feel like in like marketing for DEI services, um, it gets tricky, right? Because if you are only using like social media, like let's say you are a DI consultant or you offer DI services, I do believe that if you are only using social media for your marketing actions, it is tricky and difficult, mainly because these algorithms don't really like the words like white supremacy, racism, all of the other things that we would probably say when you're talking to humans or like maybe talking to your clients.
Mhm.
So I believe you have to probably come up with like a more holistic strategy if you are only relying on social media for your marketing services or marketing actions, just so that you're not kind of like putting yourself, what is the expression, like backing yourself into a corner and like relying on the algorithms favoring you, or putting, I don't know, self-censoring yourself so that your post doesn't get flagged by LinkedIn's algorithm. So, you can get
Yeah.
your point across. That does water down the message. Um,
Yeah,
I
it
mean, you
makes
have to do
sense.
what you got to do, but like, you got to find other ways. There are other ways to do marketing instead of only relying on social media.
Yeah, of course. All right, so let's talk about kind of what this has looked like for you in your work. Could you share with us an example of a really culturally competent campaign that you helped design that you were really proud with the results of?
Oh, I can share about one that wasn't culturally competent, and then I can
Okay,
share
yeah.
about one that was. Okay, so one was, for example, we were working with a legal brand, and they had bought like this whole strategy, marketing strategy from somebody based in the United States. So they basically implemented all of those strategies to make thousands of dollars, because the US loves talking about, I don't know, make 10K in 10 days type vibes. Um, we love it.
Oh, we love it, don't we?
We do, apparently, because it works, because it sells. So they bought that and they tried to replicate the same strategy here in Spain. It failed terribly. It was a hot mess. This brand received so many different emails asking for like clarification because they were like, I don't understand any of the like sales materials that you're giving me. I really want to buy what you have to offer, but I don't know and I don't understand what I'm buying.
Yeah.
So it ended up kind of like really hurting the campaign and basically getting the client very frustrated because they were ending up fielding a lot of like frequently asked question emails instead of actually just making the sale and helping the clients that they actually wanted to make. So that's one that did not work. That's trying to take like USA sales strategies and putting them into a totally different country, culture, and economic system. One that did really work was one that we helped with our other clients who are culture consultants. So workplace culture consultants. They were launching a course to help folks figure out how to hire and how to basically set up like hiring systems and onboarding systems that are inclusive. We got really, really clear on basically their ideal client avatar, the beliefs that they had around hiring and setting up like inclusive onboarding systems. And then from that, we translated it into content across all of their platforms. So it was social media, it was email marketing, and basically any feedback we got in real time, we would start making those edits and tweaks to later content to basically answer stuff. So then, people actually understood what they were getting into. And that actually ended up being a great campaign. It was awesome. They really enjoyed it. Clients loved it. They got great results.
Everybody's happy.
Yes, everybody's happy. The first one, not so much.
Well, and I really appreciate that example because like truly there are times where it not working out is a really good illustration of why something is needed or why it should be done in a certain way. So I really, really appreciate that kind of distinction. I mean, I think it's also really helpful when we talk about these things because we're trying to come from a position of acceptance and inclusion, and it's really easy to, the phrase is always, you don't know what you don't know. So I think it is really important that we talk about these things, not just because like, yeah, that didn't work out so great, but also because like, okay, but what can we learn from this? Like, what do you need to pull out of this experience?
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody, we all think that we've checked all our boxes, or we, crossed our T's, dotted our I's, all that stuff. But, we are our own biggest blind spots. Obviously, we're going to be. And it's kind of part and parcel of the game. So I think this is really great advice. Thank you, Cassandra, for kind of sharing with us a little bit about what you have learned through these experiences.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about kind of in more general ideas. How could brands or businesses or thought leaders begin to market in a more ethical and anti-oppressive way? One of the things you mentioned in your last answer was about kind of that intersection between marketing and capitalism. But let's talk about the ways that marketing can be more anti-oppressive.
Yeah, that would be great. So funnily enough, I do call myself an anti-capitalist marketer. I know it's very ironic, but we're just going to get into it. So I think something super important is having clear messaging and actually just a clear understanding of what you are actually selling. I think a lot of the times what happens is people actually aren't clear. So when questions do come up about like, hey, is this included? Or, oh, can you also do this? Capitalism comes in. I mean, we all have to make money to live and eat and live.
Nobody lives on water and sunshine these days. So.
Unfortunately, not yet. But maybe if AI takes over, but that's another conversation for another session. But I do think just being really clear on your messaging and being really clear on your offers and the value of your offer, what is included, what is not included, because I find that sometimes because of capitalism, we end up wanting to make the sale. So then we start offering things that maybe is not true. And what ends up happening is we basically manipulate ish. Actually, not really ish. We end up manipulating like ourselves, exploiting ourselves, saying yes to things that like no. And then also unintentionally or intentionally manipulating our audience and our clients and our community because we didn't know. I also feel like having a really deep understanding of your ideal clients will help because then you can actually talk to people directly instead of kind of like blanketing everybody into one thing. I've read a lot of like sales pages where people talk about, oh yeah, like this is for, I don't know, women business owners who really want to show up and all of this stuff. And yeah, it's like a really empowering message. And like you read and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm like jazzed. And then later you're like, wait, is this actually going to help me? Because I don't know. Like, it doesn't actually talk about what I need and what I'm looking for, which is really tying in the values aspect. And then I also think just bringing in different perspectives. You cannot know everything. I do not know everything. So I bring in lots of different people and ask questions. Um, I ask lots of questions. I ask questions about for feedback. I ask questions about what do you think this sounds like? How would you say it? And then from there, it's like a super collaborative process to actually create marketing that is all, I don't want to say all inclusive because, can't always, but maybe all encompassing and doing the best that you can.
Yeah, I very much appreciate this. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier with you don't know what you don't know. And if you're trying to listen to and ask for perspectives that differ from your own, you have to be able to listen to them, right? Like you have to actually hear what they're saying, and not just assume or rest on the certainty that what you know is the world, right? That your specific fishbowl looks like everybody else's fishbowl, when really it doesn't. It absolutely does not. So I think it is really important that, like you said, keep asking those questions, ask the clarifying questions, really drill down on who your ideal customer is, or your ideal audience, to really sell to. I also very much love the idea of like more clear messaging, because you're right, like it's really easy to be like, yeah, and I'm hyping up and it's going to be this great big thing. And I remember having this early on when I started working for Power to Fly, and it wasn't because there wasn't anything there to talk about, it's because I didn't know, because I hadn't had a full understanding of the business. So I love this little focus there. If people are trying to start a more conscious marketing strategy for themselves, where should they start? Where can they hit the ground running?
Okay, so this is probably not what people want to hear. Mainly because I feel like every time somebody asks me this question, everybody wants to know how many times should I post on LinkedIn, or what time should I post on LinkedIn? Sorry, I'm not going to give you that information. Mainly
There's
because
widgets for that. There's apps for
yeah,
that.
sorry, I don't know that answer. And also it really depends. But something that I would say is really focus on the strategy first. So that means your messaging. What is your mission, vision, statement? How does that translate into your marketing? What are your actual marketing goals? I think a lot of people say things like, oh yeah, we want like lots of participants. Cool. How many participants? What are those participants going to do after they join? Where are you leading them? Understanding that, I think, is super, super important, because then you are creating a more intentional campaign and strategy, and also understanding the purpose of everything that you're doing. Sometimes everybody gets really hyped up on like, well, now everybody wants to be on TikTok. So everybody's like, do I need to be on TikTok? Should I make a brand TikTok account? What's the purpose of that? What are you going to do with it? Being really clear on that, I think, from the beginning, is very, very important. Going back to the ideal clients, I think understanding your ideal clients from not only just marketing census, age, gender, blah, blah, blah. But again, understanding their values, their identities, their beliefs, their stories. And then an extra tip is to know the message, or I guess in marketing speak, the unique value proposition or unique selling point of everything that you offer. Because your brand, business, organization, whatever, has its own like general overarching message, your vision and mission. But then each of the offers that you have probably carry out that message and mission in different ways. So you have to really be clear on like, okay, what is the actual promise of each of the things that I'm offering? And that's how you can actually sell even better. Then it goes into all of the creative stuff. So then we could talk about like how to make a fun reel, how to record better videos, how to bring in, I don't know, more inclusive imagery, things like that. But you have to do the strategy first, because all of that other stuff, like it's all just bells and whistles if you don't have like the true core of what you're trying to market.
Okay. All right. So when we're talking, couple last minute little questions I want to try and pull out of that answer.
Yeah.
If we are trying to make sure that we're clear on, what our purpose of the marketing is, right? Can you give us a good example and a bad example of here's the purpose? You started to give us a bad example of like, yeah, we want impressions to go up or whatever. What if somebody comes to you with a good example of what your purpose or what your goal is, what would that look like?
Yeah. So I guess taking LinkedIn, bad purpose or bad goal is like I just want lots of impressions, or I want lots of like views, because that doesn't really, we don't know if that will actually translate into anything. It just kind of got eyes on it, which is cool, but not that great. A really good purpose could be, okay, I want to, maybe not impressions is the thing that I would focus on. Maybe it would be, okay, I want this post to get 5 people to message me privately on LinkedIn. So inquiring about whatever I said. And it
Mhm.
could be a sales thing. It could be like you're pitching, or it could just be to start a conversation. Let's say you're not really selling, but you want to network. Will this post actually bring in those 5 people that I'm looking for to have intentional conversations to do XYZ? That is a really good purpose. Impressions, they're like vanity metrics. We love them. They totally boost the ego. Not very good for the bottom line.
Yeah, that conversion rate isn't really there.
Yeah,
So
not the same.
yeah. All right, cool. Okay, in the last like 2 minutes we have, if people only remember one thing from today's session, what do you want that one thing to be?
Ooh, when you are really clear on your message, your marketing can actually do wonders for yourself if you want to build a personal brand, if you want to build thought leadership, or for your brand or your business. That means like really being clear on who you serve, why you do it, what is the purpose, all of that stuff, and committing to it, I think, is also little extra I'll throw in. You got to commit to it. Like you can't say you did it for 2 days. You got to commit to that for like at least 3 to 6 months, maybe 6 months max.
I love this. Great advice. Thank you, Cassandra.
Yeah.
All right. If people want to follow you and see what you've got going on and support, what do they need to know?
If you want to hang out on the interwebs, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Cassandra Lay. If you want to hang out on Instagram, it's at the Quirky Pineapple Studio, or my personal Instagram, which is at Cassandra TLE. And then if you want to have more nuanced conversations, I also have a podcast called I'm Lost, So What? Which are nuanced conversations for multicultural people who are trying to figure out how to belong while also carving their own path and identity. Yeah, I'm lost. So what?
I love this. I absolutely love this. Cassandra, thank you so, so much. It's been wonderful to get to know you a little more. I really hope that we get to do this again.
Yes, it was so great. Thank you, everybody. And to all the people watching, hello, goodbye. Hope to connect on the internet later.